Computing. So my name is Pierre-José Billotte. I'm the chairman of EuroCloud France and the founder of EuroCloud. We are going to have three short presentations, so 10 minutes for each one. So we'll be very strict with the schedule. So the first presentation is going to be made by Youval, and the second one by Hanspeter, yes, and the third one by Camilla. So I think that the e-procurement in cloud computing is a very powerful tool to develop the cloud computing. And it is what I have called a strike policy according to the bowling game, because by developing a cloud computing e-procurement policy, so the government could, in the same time, deliver better services to citizens, of course, first, to deliver to pour business into the markets and to make the market more dynamic. And thirdly, it's a way to encourage innovation if we keep a share of the public procurement for the SMB and for innovation. So I think it's a very powerful tool, and I'm very happy to see that the European Commission put this strategy at the heart of its policy. So we are going to start the first presentation. So Youval, are you ready for that?
We've got a technical problem that the format cannot be read, so I just I will start in about 30 seconds, but the regie needs to get my presentation again, so I will give that to you in a very short while. Recent. Okay. That's it. Ok. Alors, enregistrer sous. Alors, c'est horrible. Ok, alors ici, je mets Youval Eched, d'accord? Voilà.
Yeah.
C'est une question de format. Seems that the format is not compatible. We still have technical problem in the 21st and 21st century. Interesting.
So
it means that interoperability is still a challenge. We'll see that. We will get the same with cloud computing, I guess.
So are you ready to start, or maybe we could take the Hanspeter first one, or Camilla?
No, it's okay.
It's okay?
On my side, it's okay.
Okay, so let's go.
This gentleman can get it. Okay, let's see. Okay, Youval Eched. Okay, the last one, okay? Okay, Youval Eched, please. It's a little bit hard. Take care of it, please, because there are too many data in this. Okay? Okay, I will start while the
switch on the button. Switch on the microphone.
Yeah, okay. The microphone is over there. This is a microphone?
Could be.
Okay. Everyone is listening to me correctly? Yes. Okay, so that's fine. The time the regie loads the file again, I will just introduce it. I would like to give a couple of words of what's the real challenge in the public service about cloud computing, and why cloud computing can be a real, not only a challenge, but a real opportunity for public service today. We will see that. And then, as the mediator had just said, we will have two use cases, one from Denmark and one from Switzerland, that shall illustrate some application of what I will just say in my intro. Something important to understand. Now we are. I've heard in the previous conference many things on privacy and data protection. we'll see that it is a core challenge that we have to face, especially in the public service, in the government service, where it's so important to protect the citizen data. In fact, what shall be the real challenge today? This challenge can be visited and understood by anyone on the European site, on the European website about the EU 2020 digital agenda. The EU 2020 agenda is fixing some targets that I shall sum up right now. If I can get the next slide. Can I do it myself or it will be done by the regie? Okay, I shall do it myself. Okay, that's fine. Next slide. How do you do it? Next. I mean, next is this one? No. Which button? On the right. Next. Okay, this is next. What does mean? What does contain the EU digital agenda? The main targets are building a smart, a sustainable society. Why I use this name, sustainable society? Because we talked to many in the last decade about e-administration, about e-government, and then we invent e-government 2.0 for saying it is just citizen-centric. And now we just realized that what we do is just rebuilding a modern social link between the individual citizen in the public service and the community, public service, organization, administration, state. And that the real problem is not on the state level. Of course, there are some back office problems on the state level, but the real problem is delivering service to citizens to improve the social link and the society. And it means more proximity. And so on the local level that we have the major benefits of the e-government and electronic public services. On e-health, on education, on the social security, on banking service, on smart cities application development, everything is contained in these three lines, building a smart and competitive growth within a sustainable society, within a society of solidarity, sorry for the misspelling, and inclusion. Oh, this is the three bottom line of the EU 2020 agenda as it has published in March 2010 and the conference by Mr. Barroso. So let's see what are the consequences of that. It means, of course, human-centric or citizen-centric if we want to talk about public services. That means proximity. It means more convenience, more acceptance of what we deliver to the citizen, more customization, we will say, and better SLA, high SLA, and best reactivity. These are the requirements now for delivering better service to citizens in the public service. Almost the same what we do in the banking sector, on the industry, on the e-commerce, or whatever you want. But we are very pudic in the government services and the public service. And we prefer to give nice names to this, just not to say that we had 15 years of delay about what has been done so far from CRM in 1995 to today. And the reality is this, we have something to go ahead. But there is something behind, is building a modern social link and delivering new service for proximity to the citizens. That means also, of course, that public management are changing paradigm today. They accept the evolution, and that means that they need to do it in the constraints of 2020 and 2010, this decade challenges. That means more and more budget constraints. Means also need cost-effective solution. Needs mutualization because they understood that it is not necessary to rebuild the application with specific feature, as we need more horizontality and interoperability to deliver the right service to the citizen. It becomes more mature for outsourcing and software as a service. Needs IT as basic energy for better services. Right in time and for the right subjects, but more and more sensitive on data protection and privacy guarantees. They want trust, security, and control, transparency, and access to the service. They are ready to make some outsourcing, but they need more transparency and more control on the access to the service to be sure that it is secure enough for the service, for what is concerning the authority or the public service, or what's concerning the data from the citizens. Especially in health, we can understand it easily, but in other domain also. Sorry, no, it's not on my computer, it's on this one. Conclusion, e-government 2.0 needs cloud computing. It's quite clear, but we need now to make efforts on the two following points. Trust, security, privacy, and data projects seem still to be a very tricky point, needing much better communication and maybe better solutions. They are quite a little bit frightened of going on cloud computing for something that encompasses sensitive data, especially from citizens. The second point is when we have so many documents widespread, to deliver this security, they are asking more and more for document management, better document management, and we call it now information governance, which is the true challenge. And that can help in coordination with cloud computing, there will be better security perception. Now I will give the word to the two use cases that shall illustrate some of the words and some other things interesting too. Thank you for this short intro.
So thank you, Youval, for your presentation. So Camilla, you ready?
Yeah.
Right, but for...
Thank you. This one. Thank you. My name is Camilla Fisker. I have worked for the last 5 years as the manager for the cloud computing initiatives in the Danish government. I am a part of the Ministry of Finance in the Agency for Digitisation, which is managing the overall digitization of the Danish government. What I am about to tell about today is not the strategic initiatives that we're working on in Denmark, but it's one project that we are just about to finishing, and which is showing some use cases of best practice cloud computing use in the government in the Nordic public sector. So that is what I would like to talk to you about today. Just to set the scene, we have heard about the EU Commission and the EU Cloud Strategy. Of course, we support this work, and we are very interested in the outcomes of this EU strategy. But still, we are also working on a Nordic level in this the Nordic Council of Ministers. The Nordic Council of Ministers is the 5 Nordic countries: Sweden, Finland, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland. Here we have been working on the cloud computing agenda for some years. I can start by telling about the first outcome that we have had from this work. That is a discussion paper which we produced, which looked at the barriers and the potentials of using cloud computing in the public sector in the northern region. There's It's not groundbreaking work, but it's setting the scene for what we thought we could work together on, how we could improve the collaboration on cloud computing issues in the Nordic region. The outcome of this was that the main issues that we should address was about knowledge sharing. The experiences that we had in the Danish public sector could also be used in the Norwegian public sector, etc. It was about legislation that we also heard about in the EU level. It was about procurement when we have to buy cloud computing solutions. It is difficult to live up to the procurement rules, so this is also a big issue. It's about standardization, and it's about public innovation that we just heard a lot about. So that was the issues from this discussion paper. Afterwards, and the last year, we have been working on identifying best practice cases. And why we chose this is because, as I see it, there has been a lot of work and a lot of talk about legislation and standardization and security. But to get to the next level, we need some best practice cases. Before we actually gain some experiences in the government, we don't get further on this agenda. We need some experiences that can be the front runners in this agenda. So that was what we focused on in this work. We identified best practice cases from the Nordic region, and then we had them explain about how they addressed some of the issues that are relevant for the public sector and what their experiences was with these cloud solutions. So this is something that I can just shortly go through. So the outcome of this work was much of a communication effort. We published 4 films, each with addressing different issues, and these films were put together by interviews with stakeholders from these best practice cases. And in the link on the bottom, you can go and see this work. You can see the films. And we also published some short descriptions of the best practice cases, so that an official in some government organization who are considering a cloud solution, they can go to this link and they can see all other best practice cases and gain from their experiences. And then it also makes it easier for them to contact these persons who have experiences with cloud and talk to them about the challenges and how they overcome these. So that is something that we published this summer. The topic that we are still working on is producing a legal guide on how to use cloud computing and live up to the legislation within the Nordic region. And this guide will be finished here in the coming month. So the actual cases that we have, I don't have much time, so I'll just briefly run through them. For one thing, in the introduction, we also pointed out on the business potential and the market potential for cloud solutions, so that we should, our company and ICT companies should benefit from this market. And there's an example from something called Green Cloud, which is a data center located in Iceland, who are running on green energy only, and because of cloud computing, they can actually sell their product to the entire world, this green cloud product. So that is quite interesting. The next topic is about legislation. We have a case from the Danish IT university where they moved all their email to a cloud email solution, and they had some some issues dealing with the data protection regulation and how they should live up to the demands of this. And that is explained, and it's explained in this case how they live up to the legislation, which is mainly by using the EU model clauses for data transfer to third-party countries. There's also a case about Narvik municipality of Norway, who's also had to deal with personal data regulation in their case, which is also interesting to see. There's about procurement, where we have 3 cases where they have made framework agreements for using cloud computing solutions in different areas. The thing that I would like to highlight here is that when procuring cloud computing solutions, it's often that you have to, like, you test in you write your credit card number and then you're on the go, but we can't do this in a government setup. We have to go through all these procurement standards. So in order to live up to that, they have made these framework agreements where it's often brokers who bid on these framework agreements. And the last issue is about innovation, and it's actually points of view from all the best practice cases, but mainly it's from a case from the Danish public sector, where the Danish environmental portal have used a cloud infrastructure to present a lot of their data. And this is a very interesting case because if they weren't able to use cloud computing, they couldn't deliver the solutions. It's only because of cloud that this solution can be so cheap that they could offer this to their customers. So that's also a very nice case. But I think I'll end it here and then give the word to the next speaker.
Okay, so thank you, Camilla.
Yeah.
So Hanspeter is going to present us a concrete example of a public use case with cloud computing in Switzerland.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
My name is Hanspeter Christ, and I'm working for the Swiss ordnance survey called swisstopo. I'm happy to have the opportunity to present you a successful cloud project from the Swiss public sector from a cloud consumer's perspective. That's important to keep in mind. The aim of GeoAdmin CH is to make the geo information that is gathered by the Swiss public authorities easily accessible for use in the form of a mapping viewer, and even more important, in the form of reusable services. Remarkably is certainly the fact that we consequently base our geoportal from the very beginning, and that was in 2008, in the Stone Age of cloud computing, on a public cloud infrastructure that is until now provided by Amazon Web Services. The Federal Office of Topography, swisstopo, can therefore be seen as the earliest adopter in the Swiss governmental sector using cloud computing. That's why the main goal of my presentation will not be now to depict the features of GeoAdmin in detail, but more to share the experiences of now 5 years of operating in the cloud. So why geo-information is important? Here you see that is a study that was already made back in 1996 by Coopers and Lybrand, who shows that up to 80% of all decisions that are affecting the citizens are based on geo-information. That's why for decision making, geodata is enormously important, and that's the reason also why it should be available for all decision makers and also for the economy. Following a very short example that based on Zurich Airport that gives you a small impression of the data treasure that is made available via GeoAdmin CH. That are historical maps of the 1940s. Now I will click through to see how it grew. You see how this data is all available in GeoAdmin CH. Currently, we share about 2 billion of files that we distribute for our clients in the form of map tiles. And here is where the cloud really helped us to make this possible, because giving access to such a huge amount of files in a scalable manner is a huge challenge. And for us, while basing on this storage service from Amazon, it was easy to achieve. And the numbers you see, we had 99.95% of availability of GeoAdmin during the last 3 years. This shows also that with using public cloud services, it is possible to make highly available to services possible. When I make a retrospect, I must say, we jumped, sorry, the wrong slide. This slide maybe is shows better depicts the situation. As an early adopter of AWS, we could, without effort, following the rapid growth of the underlying infra and profit from the huge bunch of new features that were made available during the last few years. We just had to make use of them. This really helped us to be much quicker in bringing services to life. Another important point certainly was that using open source software, as we based all our infrastructure and this application on open source, facilitated to move to the cloud. And we are also convinced that the omnipresence of the public cloud ecosystem, together in combination with open source, that these two forces are really the innovation engine on the net today. After being on the cloud, in retrospect, we also recognized that our business case, I call it business case, really fitted perfectly with the public cloud. I just want here to show the definition of the Fraunhofer Institute of Cloud Computing and the aim of our Geo-Information Act. And you will see, I won't read it now, but you will see that it really matches perfectly. But when you see, we have also some limits today with our public cloud-only infrastructure. In green, you see where we are completely happy. That means availability, the innovation, scalability, and the total cost of ownership. Here we are really in totally green, but we have issues or concerns regarding privacy. Happily, we don't have a lot of data that really needs to be protected, but it doesn't give us the possibility to easily add such services that need privacy. The other thing is we work together with a huge cloud provider, and we cannot say that we have control over how it's evolving. That's not an issue till now, but could be a potential issue in the future. That brings me to the conclusion that even though we are very happy with the current situation, and one cloud for the future won't be enough. We are convinced that the way to go is towards an open hybrid cloud. And with this slide here, I want to end my speech. We hope that with an open hybrid cloud that consists of a private cloud that is made the most possible interoperable with public cloud services, that we can achieve all the goals that we need to have a performant, innovative government cloud available. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we have 5 minutes to take a few questions. So do you have some questions for our speakers? Yes, please first introduce yourself.
Yes.
This is hope.
So we guess that it can become green when we put our efforts on building an open hybrid cloud. And with open, I mean we need to build on open standards, on open source, to really have, and if possible, even to have transparency on what's going on. And there will be use cases where it won't be possible to just move data or move applications from one private cloud to a public, but other use cases will be possible to move between such clouds. And for us, we guess the public cloud will the big part for our use cases, and the private will just take the use cases that till now weren't possible to deploy to the public cloud.
Can I add some word? Can I add just a few words?
No.
No, yeah, that
Yes, you could, but you
yeah. That works? Yes, it works. To answer your question to complement what has just been said, we know clearly that document management, trust, security, interoperability is a key issue now on cloud computing. We cannot miss something that shall be built on standards, because for delivering service, for public service, they will need not only one provider. They will have some application from one provider, they will aggregate with other application from another provider. And we need to have a continuous security and trust all over the chain, and privacy control, which means that above this, we need a clear standard architecture of security, which is the official package of trust and methods that is compatible with the country. And I wish with interoperability capabilities all over Europe, not only one for one country, because some clouds are just cross-border. And that's a major point today, which is a clear limit, by the way.
Okay, so one question more. Well, no question? Yes, please.
Who do you see providing this? I mean, I know for-profit providers may seem, whether vendor lock-in is what they're looking for or not, they provide services because they can make money on them, and they are able to therefore provide those services and invest in the future. But who do you see providing a utopian public cloud that's going to be open and interoperable and everything like that? Who's going to do that?
In fact, I'm sorry to answer this way, but I hope that shall answer your question. No one shall provide that. It needs to be in compliance with the public regulation. And we need a public regulation on how we manage documents, how we manage trust, security, and all basics that can make it, that can allow us to open it the way we need. And I think this is a public matter, like it has been for e-signature or e-ID, etc. It's the same kind of things. we need to have a national standard and European standards that can be used, and any provider can deliver it if they respect the public standards that has been voted and that is legally needed to be respected. And that's the way it should work. So there is a huge work to do, but we need to do it now. There is no way we can miss it.
Okay, thank you, Youval.